This is the first M. Night Shyamalan movie that I have ever seen, and it was certainly an experience.
Bing bong.
Knock at the Cabin is M. Night Shyamalan's newest movie. It's a suspense thriller about three people currently on vacation in the woods who are approached by four other people claiming to have had visions of the apocalypse and saying that if that family does not decide which of the three should die, then the apocalypse will happen. All I knew about M. Night Shyamalan going into this movie is that the man loves a good twist. I know about The Sixth Sense, I know about Signs, I know about most of M. Night Shyamalan's movies with their crazy twists. I kind of went into this movie expecting, hey, if nothing else, I'm gonna get twisted. There's gonna be some weird twist going on in this movie that just completely swerves me and I never expected it. That alone is kind of a fun gimmick for a director because you know going into the movie, something weird is gonna happen regardless. But the interesting thing about Knock at the Cabin that I did not know going in is that it is based on a book. So there is a part of me that feels like M. Night was recruited because he has a very interesting directing style, but the people involved knew that if it was based on a book, maybe that would be enough to sort of reel him in and keep the story on a path that makes sense. Not that there isn't a twist in this film, but it is not nearly as crazy as some of the other twists that have been in his previous movies, at least in my opinion. From the beginning of this film, the audience is put in a position of having to try to decipher whether they believe the four people that have showed up claiming about this apocalyptic future, or if it's all just a conspiracy theory, weird farce, as people spend too much time on message boards in the corners of the internet, that sort of thing. I liked sort of the mystery aspect of this movie, kind of having to decide who you believe. Like, it's such an insane premise that just naturally, you would think common sense, you wouldn't believe these people. But you know, it's so crazy that there's like a small party that's like, what if they're telling the truth? So I think a lot of the enjoyment that I got out of this movie was in its mystery, suspenseful aspects. I like that kind of stuff. This movie is a little bit slow. I don't mind really slow movies, so this movie being a little bit slow was not really a problem for me, but I totally understand some people are not down for that. They don't want to sit through something that seems slow or boring. I also wanted to mention, this is basically a single setting film. About 95% of this movie takes place in the cabin. I love single setting movies. I feel that it really helps showcase the actors in the film, which all the actors were great. I went to go see this movie because I like Jonathan Groff and I love Dave Batista. Dave Batista is awesome. I grew up a huge wrestling fan. I loved Batista when he's wrestling. I was super excited to see him get top billing in this movie. So I had to go out, support my boy, because I was super hyped that he's finally getting this opportunity. By using the single setting of the cabin, it really highlights every actor's performance in this movie because the entire movie is narratively driven. It is just conversations between characters. And I really like that. There are little things that you're looking for in terms of like, is somebody lying? Is this the truth? And I really like that by taking a small setting like this cabin, it really highlights every single person's talent who is involved in the acting of the film. I also wanted to say that behind the camera, M. Night makes some really interesting decisions in terms of how this movie looks. There are a lot of really interesting shots that are not how you would conventionally frame a character if they were the only one speaking in a scene, but I really liked that it was different because all the shots look good. They also have a lot of shots that make you think something might happen. It makes you a little bit uncomfortable. And my personal opinion is that when it comes to like suspenseful thriller horror movies, anything in that genre, if you let the audience think up something in their head, that's way scarier than whatever you could show them. So I appreciate when a filmmaker kind of like starts to dig into that a little bit and explores like, hey, I'm not going to tell you anything is or isn't going to happen, but let's just frame this shot. And then if your mind goes to those places, it's not my fault. So I have literally no other M. Night Shyamalan movies to compare this to, which it seems like is basically how this guy's movies are reviewed. They are not reviewed against any other movie except other M. Night Shyamalan movies. To me, I would put this in like the upper tier, despite having seen literally none of his other movies. This one made sense. I've heard that a lot of his films, while they do have twists, they don't really make any sense and they're kind of bad and dumb. I don't think this is bad or dumb. I do think the twist is a little obvious, but I do also think that that's partially because this is based on a book, and because of that, you really only have so much you can work with in terms of what you might change, what you have to keep the same for it to make sense as an adaptation, despite the twist being sort of obvious, like from literally the beginning of the movie. I did think that regardless of that, the movie stays on a track that keeps you engaged, and I really enjoyed it. I think if anything, Knock at the Cabin definitely has me excited to see whatever the next M. Night Shyamalan movie is coming up, but I think even more exciting is the fact that Dave Batista finally got his opportunity to be the leading man in a film. He absolutely knocked it out of the park. I cannot wait to see what else he does, and I am just super excited that he is finally getting these opportunities to show what he can do.